I wanted to start with you, honestly, because your story, or at least from the message you sent me, yours is one of the more traumatic smart circle experiences, at least from what I've heard. And this is year 5 that we're going into this now. So I'm glad we were able to meet. Before we like officially start, like, has your life improved? How are you psychologically? What are things going like that way?
Yeah, so psychologically, I am improving. I left at the end of February.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate that you're doing these interviews, because I was hoping, not only would you ask me questions, but
Sure.
maybe I could find the answers to some questions that I have.
Yeah.
But since leaving, I'm actually really good. I'm getting happier. Uh, I guess maybe a lot of people don't get a whole lot of closure to
Yeah.
an experience like that.
Right. And you wanted your identity blurred, correct?
Yeah, and the reason that is because I'm still talking to people in the organization that I'm trying to get out. And out of respect, that I think I might have a better chance of helping people get out if I'm in a lot of people's pictures. I'll tell you that, Alex.
Yeah. I'll
I
bet.
got around.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's my goal. Is I want to expose a lot of what's going on, and a lot of people that are in the organization.
Yeah.
They know who I am.
Yeah.
They know that I left, and I want them to know that it's okay to leave.
Yeah. So I have a very long email here that talks about some very horrifying things about uh, an organization I used to work for, a Smart Circle. It seems like they haven't changed much since I got out all those years ago. And you are somebody that we definitely want to hear your story, because you were in it for 3 years. You became an owner. You had outside deals. You were really, really close with your promoting owner, who is a regional consultant. So you are not one of these people that got in for 2 months and failed. According to Smart Circle lingo, you are someone who succeeded. You got to ownership. You ran a very successful office. You had outside deals promoted, and yet you're here talking today. So we have a lot to cover. I'm sure this is going to take a long time, but I think where I want to start is because of that stature of who you were in the org. What do you want to say to people who might watch this video, who are still in Smart Circle and really don't know, what they're going to hear from you today?
Yeah. I think what I would want to say to them is, how much are you going to sacrifice, and what price are you going to pay to buy a dream? Because whatever price you're willing to pay is the price that they're willing to take from you to sell you that dream. I think that's what I want to tell them, and that it is okay to not be a CEO. It is okay to not have the title of CEO, especially when you are a broke CEO who is starving and behind on bills, and far away from your family. That's not a cool kind of CEO to be.
So you talk about this dream that they sell you. You were obviously sold this dream. Did you ever attain any elements of that dream?
Yeah, I would say that I did. Kind of. Um, I did get to travel. I did get recognition. I did feel like I was a part of something.
Mhm.
And I felt like I was achieving a lot in a very short period of time. So in that sense, sure. Was it the dream that I anticipated, the long-term dream of being A successful business owner, not even a little bit.
Okay. When you first contacted us, you had just gotten out and you had more questions for us than anything that you were really interested in sharing at the time. And it was kind of like you were escaping from Scientology. You now had fresh eyes on this new world that you didn't know existed. Like, you used to be a part of it, and then you dropped off the face of the earth for a few years and got lost in the Smart Circle scam, and now you're back in reality, and it's almost like you don't know how to adjust to the reality.
Yeah.
And I say this to a lot of critics of what I do and what other people do on this subject, is if you haven't been in Smart Circle or any of the other parents, you have no idea how bad it really is. Like, we could say it's a scam, we could say it's a pyramid scheme, we could say it's a cult, we could say it ruins lives, and it is all of those things and does all of those things. But it's very easy for someone to just, who's not been in it, to be like, really, you're just weak, you're too sensitive, you're not tough enough, you weren't going to be a good owner anyway, you're just not business minded, all these excuses, right, that you hear in the business too. So as someone who were in the business as an owner with outside deals, but you ultimately failed in Smart Circle's eyes, why do you feel like you needed this several months of detox to kind of reacquaint yourself with reality? And I guess before that, why did you fail?
Yeah. So I to answer that question in order. So why did I fail? I think I failed because the way that the system is set up is to put individuals with a lot of drive and a lot of ambition and a little bit too much of an ego at times in a position where they are solely in charge of a portion of a business that's almost bound to fail in a way. You don't get a lot of support when you become an owner. What happens is you're brought up to do everything that an owner could do, and what an owner does is it runs a market with a product in a big box retailer, and you're put in charge of that. You're put in charge of the finances of that. You're put in charge of the team building of that. And you're put in charge to run it so that Smart Circle has no real liability when it comes to those employees in that area, but they do get a profit from the client that they're, paying for, however that works. I think the reason that I failed was lack of support, emotional support, financial support, and also I just fell into a depression being there, and I experienced a lot of verbal abuse and a lot of emotional abuse from my promoting owner, and I think that ended up wearing on me so badly that I absolutely crumbled.
Okay, now some would hear that and say, well, if you're a business owner, you're supposed to do everything. Like, you shouldn't need to rely on support from
Right.
anybody. So were you just a bad owner?
No, I don't think so. I think that most business owners at least have an idea of what they're getting into a little bit. I think in Smart Circle, you get put into something based on your being naive and being excited about the idea of being a business owner. It's exciting when you're working towards something like being a business owner, but if you aren't completely educated on how to get that done, it's going to be tough for anybody. The thing about this business too, though, is the overhead is quite high because it's not based on real overhead. It's based on overhead that depends a lot on who you're surrounded by. What resources you're paying for based on who tells you what resources to pay for.
Mhm.
And that's a whole other thing. Yeah, every owner in my organization right now is suffering financially entirely. When I got to the point of suffering financially, my family, they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, this is going to be it."
Why would you say every owner in your org or your former org is suffering financially? I like what's the reason for this? Because I figure if they follow the systems, I thought they were supposed to have everything down pat.
No, not at all. Actually, there are some incredible owners that are there that are following every single system they can think of. And to be
Mhm.
honest with you, the ones that are following the system are in a worse spot than the
Hmm.
ones that are actually trying to stray away from the system just to hold on to a little bit of money. Yeah, I would say the ones that are following the system to a T and are just completely and utterly in debt. It's not even broke as in you don't have money. You go over the hump of not having money and you go straight into debt because you're that much in the hole. Those are the ones following the system. The ones that decided to kind of do their own thing, or they're just broke.
Hmm.
They're not, because they're not taking as much advice from the regional as you would
Hmm.
like them to.
All right, so let's review a little bit of what we just found out from you. So you were an owner for 3 years. You to use a phrase we've heard many times in these interviews, you drank the Kool-Aid, you were successful.
Yeah.
Yet you just said every owner in your organization is either broke
Yeah.
or in debt, and the ones that are worse off, the ones that are in debt, are the ones that are taking advice from regional and national consultants.
Yeah.
So that sounds completely opposite of what Smart Circle tells you in every opportunity meeting. So what's going on here based on what you know?
Based on what I know, so one thing that's happening right now is my promoting owner is territory hungry. So there are, when a territory comes open, either an owner fails or, you know, a Sam's Club or some kind of retailer that was not open to having Smart Circle inside of it just became open. A lot of times the retailer itself or Smart Circle gives an additional bonus to the regional as far as, those overrides go, or to the owner for individual units sold out of that store.
Mhm.
So my promoting owner split up and over promoted individuals into one store territories, talented individuals, amazing people that were just kind of thrown into these one store markets, one off markets,
Mhm.
where they couldn't even get themselves an office. They were running impacts out of a library. And they were told they would have this dream of, you'll have your own office, you'll have all of these things. No, like, you're going to be living in an Airbnb for 3 weeks at a time, Ubering to the store. If you get an office, you're lucky. If you get an office, you're lucky. There are a lot of them out there who they didn't even get an office. They're running their own business, off of a Zoom call in their apartment. And that doesn't retain people, you
No.
know?
Okay. So let's go back a little bit to your own situation.
Mhm.
Um, You said in your email, I think this is a huge point. This is where a lot of people buy in. Quote, "This was the most professional job I had ever interviewed for." And I think that's a big selling point, or a big bait for a lot of people, is that they're in this office with a lot of very well-dressed, professionally hungry people, happy people. So tell us about that whole orienting situation, and how did it get its hooks into you?
Yeah. So I actually had a friend who was in business, and I started um, during COVID. I had reached out to her and texted her, "Hey, I'm out of a job. The bar closed because of COVID." And she had been telling me prior that she was working with this company. She thought I would be so good at it. I've always been known in my friend group to be very outgoing, kind of, a little goofy, not really afraid to put myself out there. She told me she thought I'd be great at it. And she got me on the phone with my promoting owner, my regional. He called me. He asked me a couple of questions. What are you looking for? What are your goals? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
And he invited me to come to the office for a second interview. And when I walked in, it was a nice office. They had an admin. I could hear them having a meeting in the room behind me before I could even come in. And after being an owner myself, I realized all of that is very staged. You schedule for people to come into interviews right at the end of your meeting so that they hear it, so that there's action, so that there's movement, but then I was just like, oh my gosh, am I even like good enough to get hired here? I was a bartender, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're right. Everything is staged. Everything is systematic. Obviously, to use a word from Smart Circle, for a specific reason. We've covered manipulation for the past 5 years. Manipulation is everywhere. It's in the job ad. It's in the morning meetings. It's prepping newbies for the morning meetings. It's all of that. And then your real breakthrough, I think, happened in your second week when you went on a road trip. And that's usually a good way for new people to get bought in,
Yeah.
I guess you could say, is you go on a road trip with an owner or with somebody who's exciting, and maybe they're wealthy, and they show you how much fun this can be and all the opportunity and all that garbage. So take us through that first road trip and how that sealed the deal.
Yeah. So honestly, any sane person would have completely walked away during my first road trip. And it just so happened, my first day I was hired with one other girl. And both of us went on this road trip. She quit after the road trip. I got promoted. So when I tell you, my second week at this job, I went up to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I was so excited. My hotel was going to get paid for, my travel was going to get paid for, all of this stuff. When I tell you I got $30 for gas, and this was the worst motel, there was a giant dumpster outside filled with people's clothes, like an industrial dumpster filled with people's clothes right outside of the balcony, and homeless people walking around picking up the clothes out of it. And I was so pumped. I was like, this is my opportunity. Yeah, I made my first sale on that trip. I don't know how I was so blind after 2 weeks. Yeah, the other girl that went with me that I was hired with literally quit as soon as we got back. I was like, this is the best place in the whole world. I don't know. It's crazy.
So you really got close to your I hate using the word owner, manager, your regional.
Yeah.
Why do you think you got so close to him so quickly?
Yeah. I think it's because I came in during COVID, and what happened during COVID is a lot of people obviously quit the business. If they had been in the business and COVID hit, they're going to quit. Now, looking back, I see that. That's very obvious. Unemployment checks were coming through. They could make $700. You know that those people were not making that much money in the business as reps. So they went and got their unemployment checks. And what I'm seeing in hindsight now is he lost his office. And I lost my job at the bar because of COVID, and I was looking for something. So he got a hold of me when I was looking for opportunity mid-COVID, and his whole office was like crickets, you know? So I was kind of his, you know, diamond in the rough. I just show up hardworking, ready to go. And his team just ran off for the unemployment checks. So really it was kind of like fate in a sense that he saw me locked in, and I think very, very quickly realized that he had a potential owner in the making.
Okay. That word owner is such a it is such a lie for everything that Smart Circle stands for. And something that you brought up earlier in your time there, you said that you were sent to Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, that was
okay. And then you said that there was one time when you heard of, to use your words, a very loud, vulgar, and explicit conversation on speakerphone that your promoting owner was having with an owner who was getting kicked out of the market.
Right.
And, you know, a question that remains unanswered is, how can you be an owner, a business owner, if someone else can kick you out of your office?
You don't own anything. As when you're called an owner, I don't know why they even use that word, because you don't own anything. You don't own anything.
So what were you, so as an owner, we'll fast forward a little bit. So as an owner though, why did it feel like you were a business owner?
Because I wore very nice suits. I paid rent for an office space. The lease was in my name. I had a C Corp license that was signed up for me. So I had a C Corp license. I got to name the business. And I had employees. And I ran all of the operations. So it felt like I was a business owner, but Smart Circle and my regional owned my business. I didn't own it. I was kind of like staff. I just staffed my business.
Okay. So what decisions were made by Smart Circle and by your regional that would showcase that you are not, in fact, an owner of anything?
Well, first, the contracts. I don't have control over any of the contracts. The contracts are given to you by Smart Circle, almost as if it's a gift.
You're talking about the contracts with the stores and with the products?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to be on, when you become an owner, you have to be on the owner calls. If you're not on the owner calls, you're in big trouble. For me, my punishment for not being on the owner calls was a long conversation that just completely belittled me as a human being.
From whom?
My regional.
Okay.
Yeah, my promoting owner would just tear me apart. Any positive trait that I would have as a human person was out the window. It was that I was less than trash. I was worth less than a piece of garbage if I missed something like an owner's call, which I tended to miss every once in a while. So I got those conversations pretty often, but you have to be on those. You have to participate in Smart Circle culture. I was definitely an owner who did try to do my own thing at a lot of points, and when I was doing my own thing, I was the most successful. But because of those conversations, um, about how I was doing everything wrong, and I was the reason that my business was going to fail, and I was getting torn apart, I ended up following the systems that they wanted me to, and I made less money than I'd ever made just doing my own thing. But they wanted me to abide by their ways. You can't be a black sheep.
We'll get back to your promoting owner in a minute, but you were promoted and you were successful. So, when you talk about these things about being essentially verbally abused by your promoting owner, it's interesting because of how much money you probably made him, because according to you, you were the top owner for months at a time. You built a really good core of about 4 people. You had a really solid office culture. You won Rookie Owner of the Year, which is a coveted award in the Smart Circle cult. You talked to a couple people, a couple big wigs. If you want to name them, you can. That's up to you. Life was good. Like you made it. You made it. Whatever the opportunity meetings were saying, you were there, and you were Rookie Owner of the Year. Like your name is everywhere. It's in the bullshit magazines that they publish. It's on the owners' calls every week. What do you remember how it felt when that was happening?
Yeah, I felt proud of myself. It was like the complete opposite. I felt proud of myself. I felt like I was doing a great job. We'll probably get into it later, but I really, really love my team boys. And I did every single bit of that for them. And I was so excited because I knew that I was above everyone else. I was almost untouchable. I was like the angel child for a little while.
Were you making money?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, of course not. No, it was funny because I actually told my guys a lot of times. I told them I wasn't here for the money. I was achievement driven. That's what I would say. I told them I was achievement driven. So getting the Rookie Director of the Year, getting that recognition is why I did it. I didn't do it for the money. But the truth is I wasn't getting any anyway. So at least I got an award or two.
Okay. So I'm curious, as someone who never got to owner, thank God. At what point do you kind of rationalize with yourself that I'm an owner, but I think, yeah, every single time we had an opportunity meeting, they said 6 figures, and I'm not making anywhere near 6 figures. Was there ever a connection to that, even though this is something that not only did you hear every day, you're preaching this, right, to other people?
Yep.
And it never.
No, I was absolutely naive up until the very last. Yep. Nope. I just thought that it was something that I needed to continue to work towards. But I believed it. Oh, I believed it, Alex. I believed it with all my heart. And I also figured that if anybody in my organization could do it, it was going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
I had people in the organization telling me, you'll be better than our regional one day. Mm-hmm. We know that you're going to be better than our regional one day. You're going to soar higher than he is right now. We know that for a fact. I had family telling me that. I had people in the business telling me that. I had people who had been in the business longer than me telling me that. So of course I'm in this mindset, like my ego's inflated, and I'm like, oh yeah, we all make 6 figures here. In my first year, I generated $365,000
Your business.
It's $1,000 for every day of the year
Yeah.
almost.
How much did you make personally?
I think that year, that was 2021. On my taxes at the end of the year, I think it was 13,000.
Dear Lord. And still that didn't raise red flags for you.
Not even a little bit, Alex. I was in deep. I was in deep.
So where does that come from? Like, I know every episode of this, we talk about brainwashing and stuff like that. And I feel like that's literally what happens, because, you know, it's like getting people to vote against their own interests, right? Voting for candidates that vote against their own interests. It's like working for an opportunity against your own interests, because I can't imagine living on $13,000 a year and trying to function.
I didn't. You know, my parents have always been very, very supportive of me. So they helped me a lot, and I somehow managed to also brainwash my parents into thinking this was a great idea. I don't know if I mentioned it on the email, but my dad had saved $50,000 for me to go to college. And when I got my directorship, my ownership, I told him this is what I was going to do as a career. And I'll tell you now that $50,000 is gone entirely. So, no, $13,000 is nothing to live off of. But when you're being fed information about how this is how it is, this is what we do, you're making a sacrifice right now, you know, and they talk about the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs, and any business owner in their first couple of years isn't going to see a ton of profit. You know, with us, we just don't want to eat out of that little bit of profit. So, you know, maybe skip paying yourself this week. Maybe skip paying yourself this week. Maybe if you have anything left, put it towards recruiting. And you end up with nothing.
Okay, that whole skip paying yourself this week. If Smart Circle was accountable, I mean, that's illegal. That's illegal for anybody to tell you, don't pay yourself this week. But Smart Circle, Sidcor, Credico, Ascenta, Universal Events, they skirt, right? They skirt employee rights through paperwork. So as someone who was an owner for 3 years, can you tell us how Smart Circle is able to manipulate essentially slave labor, legal slave labor at this point?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest reasons that I did actually decide to do this interview, is because that's 100% what it is. So what happens is you get hired on into this business. If you're in a good office, like I was in a regional office, you will be taught all of the ins and outs on how to run a corporate business. But what you're actually being taught to do is how to staff big box retailers like Sam's Club and Costco and Target and Fred Meyer's. And you're going to get taught how to take other people and get them to go in those stores and do the same thing, you individually. You being told that you're a business owner is actually you signing a contract saying, we don't have to pay you for you doing all of this work for us. P.S. Love you, Smart Circle. Like, that's all it is. If you are just diehard in love with big box retailers and kiosks, then like, sure, but you're going to give up your entire life for it. And you're not going to get paid $1 because you're the business owner. It is all up to you. And if you have guys and you actually care about them, you're going to give any money, any little bit of profit that you have to them.
So Smart Circle basically says you have to generate your own money, which makes sense because you're a business owner. even though you're using our products, you're using our contracts, we're going to make you use, I'm sure we'll talk about this, we're going to make you use our financial people and our legal people and whatever, even though they might be scumbags like we are. But if things go wrong, if you're costing us money on you being one of our overrides, we can shut you down, even though it's your own business.
Yeah.
And was the paperwork that you signed confusing? Like when you signed it, do you have any idea what you were signing when you became an owner?
Not even a little bit, because you sign that paperwork on adrenaline. When I tell you on pure adrenaline, mine was a surprise. It was set up as this like cute surprise. I was supposed to go into my owner's office to meet him to talk about the team for that day. And he stops in the middle of the conversation and says, "Hey, I need you to go to," it's actually his wife. I needed to go to his wife's office. She was the admin and the recruiter.
Yeah.
And the secretary. And I walked into her office and she just slides the paperwork in front of me and says, "Hey, I need you to sign this." And I was pretty confused. I looked at it, I said, "What is it?" And I saw that it was, it said State of Florida Corporation business license. And for me, that was exciting. That was like, oh my gosh, you guys pulled one on me. This is my business paperwork. The whole time since you are hired, you hear about this business license that you're going to get. You hear about this business paperwork that you're going to get, so I was ecstatic. My time had come. I had done it, and I had done it in 10 months. Yeah. So it wasn't, this is what this is. These are your responsibilities. This is what happens. It was definitely, sign here, date here, sign here, date here, put your initials here. Congratulations, you're a business owner. And a week later, I was in Pensacola.
Did they even go through the paperwork with you, or was it just sign? Did they
go
through?
No, it was just sign. It was really just sign here, and then they made sure to tell me not to pick a stupid name for my business. But that's really what it was. Are
the words Smart Circle anywhere on any of those documents?
I don't remember it being on any of the documents. I think it was a application for a C Corp's license. But to be honest with you, at the time I knew who Smart Circle was, and I loved them, so it didn't matter.
Who was Smart Circle as you knew them at that time?
Head office.
Head office that does what?
They are the head office that helps us get the contracts, that helps teach us the systems to become business owners. Yeah, all that.
So, okay.
They've done a lot of damage control since this and Juicy Rhino existed. So I came in a generation where y'all had been existing for a while.
Yeah.
They told me all about you, and I was like, oh, haha, so funny. We love Smart Circle anyway. Yeah.
Well, just the fact that they're talking about me, I like that. But they're the head. I'm still a little confused. They're the head office.
Yeah.
Yet we're all business owners, and your regional, okay, so you said you entered in after, the Slave Circle and Juicy Rhino had been out for a while. There was no effort to kind of distance oneself from we're a Smart Circle office?
No, not at all. It actually turned in, I feel like that might be how it used to be, but not now. Now they say it very freely and very openly. And they consider this whole thing to just be like bad reviews. Like, you ever go to a McDonald's, they have like new impacts for it. It's like, if you ever go to a McDonald's on this street, you go to McDonald's on this street, You're gonna get two different experiences. Are your burgers gonna be made the same? No. Is that McDonald's gonna have same reviews as the other McDonald's? No, not really. And sometimes employees get mad and all these kind of things. And that's what they've turned this into. It wasn't until after I left that I was like, no, these are people that are trying to tell the truth.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, McDonald's is still really shitty food. So Smart
Yeah.
Circle, I think that says a lot more about you than it does us. But anyway. All right. So let me check my notes here and see where we are here, because I know you talked a lot about oh, here we go.
How my regional stole all of my employees.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Something that really confused me about a conversation you had with your promoting owner, several actually, was that there are not enough markets for new owners, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, considering the MO of Smart Circle is always, we need hundreds of owners to fill all these markets and stuff. So what's the truth there?
That happened right as I was a new owner. And it was, when I tell you that was a heartbreaking feeling, that was a heartbreaking feeling, because Alex, when I tell you I was moving fast, I got my office and I started doing it. I hired this group of boys and I just trained them every day. I trained them all the time. I made it fun for them and it was fun for me, and really created a connection. We were a team. There were a lot of teams that did not have that dynamic. There were a lot of teams that didn't, but I also think I did things a bit differently than Smart Circle necessarily would have approved of.
Yeah.
I truly cared. And I had so much fun teaching them stuff and bringing them out of their shell and teaching them how to be these little sales guys that were going to be business owners one day. Because me being so new, we're talking in my first 4 months of being an owner, I thought I was a real business owner and I thought they were going to be real business owners. So I was building these guys. When it got to the point where I was building them, and I reached out to my promoting owner, the regional, and I said, all right, I've got these guys. Let's start brainstorming. Where's this one going to go? Where's that one going to go? What's going on? And he basically just kind of pumped the brakes on me and was like, well, how about you just work it out there? How about you just keep training? He used to say, be where your feet are, and we'll get to that when the time comes. But part of growth is giving these guys something to work towards, because obviously they're not making a ton of money. They love me. They love the office.
Mm-hmm.
They love how much I care about them. So they're coming in and they're just eating up that energy that I'm giving them. They're not there to eat up the checks I'm giving them, because it's not fantastic. And I need something for them to work towards. And the guys start talking about how there's not markets as available. I did my absolute best to be like, not true, because my regional tells me is, markets always come open. They always come open. There's always a market open. Look at your market. You got there because someone left, right? So they come open all the time. So I'm relaying that to the guys, but that wasn't what the case was, because when I got ready to promote my first outside deal, I actually went to promote him twice, because the first time there were no markets for him. So I had to keep him in my office as a fully developed almost owner. And he just hung out with me, basically. A lot of times he ran the office better than I did at that point, but he was still being rep paid, because you can't promote someone without your regional's approval. Yeah. My regional wouldn't approve it because there wasn't anywhere for him to go. So that really created a lot of tension in the office, not against me, but just kind of against the system and the process.
So why wasn't there room, or at least what was the reason given to you?
Well, that I don't entirely remember, but I do know that it was along the lines of some of the bigger markets, some of the bigger markets like Chicago, Orlando, those bigger cities. They were filling smaller markets with their promotions. And my regional was just the regional of the Southeast cities, so like smaller southern cities. So our territories that were outside of that were just kind of like one store market. They weren't really like 2, 3, 4, 5 store markets coming from a 10, 15 store market. That wasn't the case. I was like a 2 store market, and I'd be promoting my guy to like a Target.
Mhm.
That's not like a huge opportunity for someone who's a lot of my guys and myself were top in our region. So you wouldn't want to, in my mind, you wouldn't want to send someone that high quality into a retailer that's not even big box. You know what I mean? And just one, it's kind of funny sounding. Where are all the other stores at is what I started thinking to myself. You know, and then the other option was to go out into, all the way over to California or Oregon, which maybe we'll get into that in a minute, but some people did. They're currently stuck out there right now.
So essentially, I don't know if you've ever seen the graphic, but you can just Google it. There's a pyramid scheme graphic, and it starts with 1 and it goes down, and eventually you get to a layer which is larger than the Earth's total population, which is how a pyramid scheme runs. And essentially what Smart Circle has done, and what Devilcorp companies have done, is a complete oversaturation of the market. And this is proof that these are just legal pyramid schemes, because it's a territory grab, like you said before. And once those territories get overly saturated, there's no room for growth. There's not enough owners. You're going to lose people. So the people that are putting in all the effort and all the work, just like any MLM, they get nothing, while the people at the top, who, like you said before, are at a legal arm's length, right? Smart Circle executives and national consultants and whatever, and regional consultants, they'll still make money. Right. That's how a pyramid scheme operates. That's how an MLM operates. And there's no debating that. That's fact. That's true fact. And if somebody who's currently with Smart Circle would like to honestly have a debate about why Smart Circle is not an MLM or a pyramid scheme, I would love that. I would definitely make any time. I would set aside 5 hours of my day, any day, to do that. But it's never going to happen, because Smart Circle can put out their propaganda video and lie about how they're not an MLM or a pyramid scheme, and they'll hold on to those lies. But as we've seen with any interviews, and we've seen in this country recently, lies don't stand up. Lies will crumble in on themselves eventually. And if the Slave Circle and Juicy Rhino are the start of that, I'm proud to do that for sure.
I think the reason that people are so easily, it's absolutely not an MLM. It's not a pyramid scheme. The number one way that Smart Circle goes into that is by telling you, well, with a pyramid scheme or an MLM, you have to buy into it first.
Nope.
What so many owners, and I included, did not understand is that, so there's a company called HerbJoy. Did you ever hear about HerbJoy?
Yes, I think so.
They're the payroll company.
Okay. That name sounds really familiar, so I've heard it somewhere.
Yeah, HerbJoy is the payroll company. That payroll interface is owned by Smart Circle.
Oh, yes, how about that?
Paying HerbJoy. HerbJoy also does your business taxes. They specialize in our business. Mm-hmm. That's Smart Circle. eStream is the interface that you use as an owner to see your sales, to see different things. This was created by someone who actually works for the Smart Circle company itself, which there's very few people who do.
Mhm.
eStream was created by that individual group. We are forking out thousands of dollars, Alex. When I say thousands of dollars to Herbjoy, to eStream, to these recruiting companies, thousands of dollars. It is sad how much money an owner has to pay to their opportunity.
Mhm. Yeah, because they frame it, right? Smart Circle frames it as, we're doing all of this for you to help you grow. And if you don't grow, it's your own damn fault. But the truth is, they're using all of their properties. It's all synergy and it's all vertical integration. They're using an accounting firm that they either own or have some type of influence in. Like the apps, they develop new apps that they own. So you're really just, the owners are just giving Smart Circle money. And a lot of
Yes.
owners don't realize that, right? Is that you're an owner, but your entity that can shut you down if you say or do one thing that they don't like,
Right.
you're just paying them tons of money.
And it's not on the front end. It's not when you first get hired and you get so excited. Or even you're not that excited and you're not that good at this, but they're believing in you enough and telling you, hey, you're not good at this, but we're going to be there for you until you do get there. That's not when this happens. That's when the mind control happens. That's when the emotional connections are built so that you will give them your money on the back end to be a business owner. It is a MLM and it is a pyramid scheme that takes the money later on.
Yeah. So there is a buy-in, right? There is a buy-in to be an owner, but they never tell you about it.
Of course there is. And they make it seem as if it's completely normal. The only thing that really saved me is, thank God I have helicopter parents who are business owners. And they are the ones who actually got me out. And I did tell them all about my finances, and I did show them my accounting sheets. I did show them how much I was paying for recruiting, did show them how much I was paying for payroll. And when they crunched those numbers, I was paying my recruiting firm $75,000 a year.
Dear God.
I was paying more than that for someone to pay my taxes. My parents begged me to use our family tax guy. They were like, what are you talking about? It's your small business. Use our business guy. Why are you paying them $100 a week to do your taxes? And you also can't answer questions for us about these people or things that are going on. So thankfully, those kind of little rifts in the system are what got me out. For a lot of people, they don't have that support system though, and their knowledge is coming from higher ups. Their knowledge is coming from people they look up to in the business that are telling them, everyone does this. This is you're doing a great job. That's exactly what you do. Hey, maybe even pay them a little more.
Yeah. And if your knowledge is only coming from one place,
right,
you have no alternative narrative, and you're going to believe that doctrine, even if it's lies. And the recruiting firm. So you talked before about how for a while you were dealing with the wife of your promoting owner. Big shock. They're married. She works for him. How do you get from there to this massive recruiting firm, which you're paying astonishingly way too much a year to do nothing?
The recruiting firm I was paying.
So was she a Smart Circle employee?
No, she was not. She owned her own recruiting company.
So you're using this recruiting company only because she's the wife of your promoting owner and your regional.
Yeah. And when I say recruiting company, for anyone who doesn't understand like Smart Circle or how it works, there is no it's one person. It's one person who got an LLC. LLCs are like what, $500? It was just her. Like I was just paying her these thousands of dollars.
So she was getting paid $75,000 a year
from me. My owner was a regional. He had
Yeah.
30 owners, Alex. The reason she had a recruiting company with him, my regional, they are married. All of his outside deals used her as their recruiter.
So they're scamming all 30 of his offices to the tune of $75,000 a year. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, until another girl came in and started being a little competitive. That was the one I switched to that really brought on that verbal abuse.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you saw where I wrote that she would write checks and they wouldn't clear for even a month, apparently, and I would have such uneven charges. One week it'd be $800, but the next week when I had a little bit better of a DD, it would be $1,200. And then when I didn't have that great of a DD, it would be $600. But it just so happened that those checks didn't clear until just now. And it almost seemed like it was a favor in a sense that, oh, well, you didn't have that great of a DD, so I did $450, but next week when you have a better DD, it's $1,500 to $1,800 that's just coming out of my account to this company that she owns, but it's just her. It's literally just her. She writes the checks. She creates whatever the plan is going to be for recruiting. And to be completely honest with you, I wasn't getting that great of recruits. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even getting that great of recruits. Even paying that much to her, there were days when maybe 2 people would show up to my office that I was there to interview, and it was Pensacola, so one of them had teeth and the other one didn't, and the one with teeth couldn't spell, so I really didn't have a lot to work with. You know what I mean? $1,200 a week, $1,800, then $800, then $300. Hey, I know it was a tough week. Boom, $600. Like, it was just so weird. And it was all my owner's wife taking this money out of my business account, because she also was my hub. And
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know what a hub is, I don't really know what it is either, but it means that they're on your business account, like their name is on there. They can withdraw or input money as they want, and they're technically in control of it. I guess they keep books. I don't even know what that means, but it just meant that she had all access to my bank account and would just make these random charges all the time. So eventually her recruiting company, herself, just quit and shut down. She went and worked for one of the nationals. I guess her business wasn't doing that great either. I don't really know how.
So the recruiting side is just another big pyramid scheme, is basically what we're learning here. If you don't mind, and I'll leave it up to you if you want to identify this person.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about your regional, your promoting owner, what kind of person he was?
Yeah.
Obviously, we know he's manipulative. But how was he? And looking back now, like, how has your opinion, has it changed of this individual?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to take a little bit of time to reflect, because me and him, I would say, were very, 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 very close. I ran his office for him throughout the pandemic. He is a very goofy person, goofy to the point where a lot of other regionals and nationals don't take him very seriously. And that's well known in the smart circle higher ups, in the nationals and the regionals. They know who he is for the reason of he's a slow grower as a region. He got his regional really late in comparison to a lot of others. He was there for 15 years. And Alex, he was promoted officially at the Smart Circle trip to regional today.
What?
Today. He has been getting regional pay since 2021. Yes. Um,
My brain is frying here. I can't keep track of all the bullshit that these companies do. So wait a minute. So he was not promoted. Today is April 24th, 2023, where we're filming this interview. He's been getting pay for being a regional consultant for 2 years.
he begged them. So for a regional, you should nowadays be making about $250,000 in org a week. He's been rolling 189, 187, 175, 120, on a good week. You know what I'm saying? In the 100s and stuff.
Mhm.
He's been my whole career. He was rolling the ones, man. He was rolling those. You need to be hitting the 250. But he had enough shitty owners that technically, because we were so spread out in all these different areas, that he spread us out doing these little one-store markets everywhere. Technically, he had enough outside deals to technically sort of qualify him, even though no one was making that realm of 250 collectively in revenue. But yeah, today they're in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, as you and I are speaking right now. Today is the day that he got his watch as a regional. The sad thing for me is I know that that's happening, and other regionals are also being promoted. And Mike T right now, deep in his heart, does not think that my promoting owner should be a regional.
Oh, I love that. I still don't understand how you can be pathetic enough to beg to be a regional consultant 2 years ago and just now be recognized for it. Like, what a pathetic individual.
They started paying him 2 years ago. They also increased the overrides on regionals and owners for outside deals. So that was one of the reasons that my boys ended up in the position they're in now.
And you're talking about your crew?
Yeah, I promoted all but one.
And okay, so what is we can talk about them if you don't mind. What's their situation right now?
I want my boys out so bad. I'm gonna try not to get emotional for this part. Because like I said, me and my boys were very close in a way that no other office that I know of is close. I kept my office small. You probably were kind of wondering, how do you get to rookie director of the year, and how do you get to become one of the top in your organization with 4 guys?
Mm-hmm.
I loved those guys, and those guys loved me, and they trusted me. They trusted me with their whole heart. And I believed in them with mine. When I had my boys with me, I had 2 stores, and I had the 4 of them. Now, the principle of a smart circle system is your reps need to train and promote their own reps to grow. That's how they grow.
Yeah.
Which means that I would need more reps then. And in a 2-store market, honest to God, this is just, you and me talking like normal people, knowing what a kiosk in a big box retailer looks like. Best way to do that is put 2 and 2. If you have 2 stores, you put 2 and 2. And that's when I was making my profit, is when I had 2 and 2. Now, when my promoting owner was suggesting to me, hey, you need to staff that store with more people. You need to hire more people for these guys to grow, which is what I wanted. You need to staff more people for less time throughout the week so that they could train different people. That's when it started to get confusing. Because I only have 2 stores and I have 4 boys that are great leaders.
Yeah.
They could never really build a team because theirs were falling off because I could only give them so many hours at a time. I didn't have enough space to be growing my guys the way I was growing my guys. Mm-hmm. That's when it got confusing. And eventually, one of my guys who I love very much, he is in Mobile right now. He had this sense of, he started to get a little antsy. He started to Feel like he wasn't getting as much attention from me as early on, because I did have to focus on the new hires too. And I believe he felt a little bit left out. That's also on me for being a newer owner and not being able to delegate my attention absolutely perfectly. But he was great. I mean, he was great. So what happened is I reached out to my promoting owner about some of the issues I was having, recognizing that this guy was not having the best time anymore. And my promoting owner's advice to me was that, oh, well, you should send him out here with me to New Orleans. It would be a great opportunity. He could get to work with a regional, I'll help pay for him to come out here. Maybe he just needs to get out of the city for a little bit. So I agreed to that, and I thought it was a great idea. And I sent him over there. That left me with my 3 boys, and I was still getting the profit from him, and it worked out pretty good until I got a phone call that his car broke down. My rep out there, his car broke down, and my promoting owner needed to pay for it, needed to pay for some housing for him out there and stuff like that. Maybe we should split the profit with him. I said, you know what, it does sound like that's, that stuff's expensive. Like, that's okay. Hey, you're taking good care of him. Let's split the profit, right? My guy starts doing pretty good out there, but my guy out there repped our home office. He repped Pensacola. Every call we were on, every time he was a high roller, he'd be like, this is for the Pensacola team. This is how we do it in Pensacola. And, we were excited for him. We're like, that's right. That's our boy. But eventually it got to a point over there where when my promoting owner would tell him to do something, he would say, well, that's not how we do it in Pensacola. That's not how I had him doing things. And he would vocalize that, and that really got on my promoting owner's nerves. So my promoting owner calls me again and says, hey, I need you to have a talk with him. He's not really embodying the New Orleans spirit. He's really all about Pensacola, and he doesn't really listen to me because of that. I need you to just kind of let him know. Like, let him know he's a part of us over here now, and that's how it's going to be. And so I called my guy, and I started to have that conversation with him, and I can tell that it hurt his feelings a lot. That, to this day, is one of my biggest regrets, was that conversation I had with him, because it hurt him to the point where he stopped talking to me for quite a few months. I would say at least 6, 7, 8 months. He didn't talk to me at all. And 100% of my profit, I turned him over entirely. He started to do really well over there, though, finally. Became a top producer over there quite a few times. So that was good. We missed him back at home, and I felt a level of guilt that I don't really know how to explain.
So where is he now?
Now he's in Mobile. So how that happened is, when I was left with my 3 guys, one of them was just a superstar. Me and him will always have a very close soul tie. I taught him everything that I know. He gave me a lot of advice because he was actually older than me. We had this very powerful dynamic running that office, with me, him, and my other 2 guys. Mm-hmm. He's my first outside deal. And he's the one that I tried to promote when there weren't any stores. So we were kind of hanging out together and just waiting around till an opportunity came up. And it got to a point where he felt like he was being used, almost like he was ready, but he was just getting rep pay, and he was just a junior director. So my promoting owner gives me a call and says, hey, I have an opportunity for your guy to come out here. And actually what he would do is he would be my business partner. He would actually partner up with me here in New Orleans, and we would be partners. I think that'd be a great opportunity for him to come and run a regional office with me. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, wow, what what a compliment. You know, the regional wants my first outside deal to business partner with him. Are you kidding me? And I told my guy, and my guy's as excited as I am, and I send him out to New Orleans. And so shortly afterwards, very soon afterwards, I get a call from my outside deal saying, hey, the way things are being ran out here is absolutely not how we do things in Pensacola. He's been working my other who used to be rep like a dog. And there's no leadership out there at all. And, you know, I just encourage him, and I'm just like, hey, that's why you're there. You know what I mean? Build a team, you know, do your thing. The whole market, you just do your thing. You know what I mean? And he pushed there for quite a while, but unfortunately, it seems like the same thing happened where he was voicing, hey, this is how I taught him how to do things. This isn't as family oriented and is caring about each other. It's more like very selfish and divided and very money and long hours, horrid hours. And he was starting to get miserable, and he was starting to get combative with my promoting owner. My promoting owner ended up putting my rep under my outside deal and letting him get that on his payroll, and then sending my outside deal out to Shreveport, Louisiana. That conversation on the phone was literally my promoting owner telling me, I can't deal with him anymore. He is so against the grain and he just wants to do his own thing. He's just like you. You basically told him that he's up against the world and he can do whatever he wants, and you think you can do whatever you want. So he's got to go. I'm going to promote him to Shreveport. Good riddance. Right. He kept my original rep with him there in New Orleans until that original rep had been around for almost a year and a half and was getting like, where the heck is my opportunity? And then good riddance him out to Mobile, Alabama, and separated the two of them. I was left with my other two guys back in Pensacola. That's when the finances got tough. That's when I started going down.
So, you know, you said earlier that your promoting owner tried to essentially did split up your office for his own personal gain.
Yeah. Well, in the end, he ended up getting overrides from both of my outside deals before I left the business.
How did that happen?
Well, when I was left with my two guys left in Pensacola, I really had to fight for financially. When the team split up, the dynamic changed. I had my second outside deal. That's what we'll call him. Me and him were also very close, completely different dynamic. I was a lot of a mother figure to him. He was a lot of like, I really felt like I had a lot of personal responsibility over the way his life turned out, because he came from a pretty crummy situation originally. And I gave him the promise and the dream of being a business owner, and that I would help him achieve that one day. I started working on promoting him. We had no clue where we were going to put him, though. We had no clue where we were going to put him. And I get a call from my promoting owner, and, you know, he says that I've been in Pensacola for a while, and that Huntsville would actually really like need an owner like me, or someone who can build a team and build leadership, like that I would be useful there. I got excited because things were getting tough in Pensacola. So I started to prepare my second outside deal to become my second outside deal. And when that happened, I left my entire office to him. I was really happy to. Everything that I had built, I felt like he deserved to keep, and that I would go do it again in another city. And it would give me kind of a fresh mindset And when I left there in Pensacola, a lot of personal finances came up for him. He had a daughter. He had some medical things come up he needed to pay for, and he was not able to necessarily retain a team the way that I had when. So he started going under very quickly. Me starting a new venture also cost money. So I got to a point where I've got an outside deal over here who needs money. I got a guy in Mobile who needs money. I got a guy in Pensacola who needs money. And shit, I don't have any money. So I call my promoting owner, him being a regional, and ask him for that help. In return for that help, I ended up trading half of my overrides from my outside deals to him for him to front me the money to give to my guys to support themselves.
So for a temporary loan, he wants you to sacrifice your residual income, permanent residual income. Well, that sounds like a fair deal.
50% of it. Yeah.
What an asshole.
From both of them. Yeah. That was hard. And I told my first outside deal that I was very transparent with my guys about everything that I did. I never hid anything from them. And I told them, I said, you know, I'm gonna give our regional half of the overrides. And he was so upset. My boys wanted them becoming business owners to be my retirement plan. One day they wanted to retire me. They always told me that. They said, you know, we're gonna retire you. That's how we're gonna give back. So when I told him that I had to turn over half of his overrides to the regional, who he didn't necessarily get along with either, he was pretty upset at me for doing that. But I wasn't in a place to do anything else to be able to support them. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, yeah. And this whole time, your promoting owner is framing this as, this is going to help you. This is a good opportunity. This is a good idea. You basically have to do this, right?
Yeah, he told me I didn't have two legs.
You didn't have two legs to stand on.
That was his exact words to me. You don't have two legs to stand on.
And then this, I think, I could be wrong, but I think this is when you said the, to use your words, mental abuse from him really intensified, right?
Yeah. It was always consistent.
Yeah.
But this is when it started to get very intense, because one story that you'll hear from owners across the board, especially in the organization that I was in under my regional, is that when you don't have enough money to pay your light bill at your apartment or to pay internet at your office, then you don't have the money for things like food or things like gas. So if I were taking a road trip or going to a conference, which are mandatory every 3 months, and I didn't have any food to eat to go to these 3-day conferences or even day-long conferences to get to drive out to the city that it was in, I would have to card, because that's the only income that I have, because I put all of my eggs into this basket as my career.
Yeah.
So anytime I didn't have money, that's held against you entirely. If you can't put yourself on payroll, so you don't have any actual income, and at the end of my last year in business, I ended up doing, I think I had $4,000 for the year that I had paid myself.
God.
So when you can't put yourself on payroll and you are literally hungry and you're getting notifications in your email from the local power company that you've got this many days until your power's cut off, you have to survive in any way you can. So you use your business card to pay for those things. And when you do, that is turned around against you as you are a frivolous spender who can't sacrifice. Many people in my organization have been told directly by my regional, just get a pack of noodles. yeah, so when he said that I didn't have two legs to stand on, that's what he meant. He meant that I had forked out too many grocery or power bills on my business card to keep any overrides that I might have even deserved, which in his eyes I didn't, because I'd messed them up because they're too combative against his way of working the system anyway. So they were broken, they were messed up after I trained them. Him telling me that my guys were messed up and that my guys were doing things the wrong way and that they would never be successful business owners because of me being a terrible business owner, that hit me where it hurt. Him telling me that I was not going to ever be a real business owner because I didn't understand true sacrifice, because my dad helped me pay for my apartment rent. So I didn't actually understand how to hustle, how to grind, and how to sacrifice things. Had my parents not helped me with some things, I wouldn't have lasted for 3 years, Alex. I wouldn't have. I would have left as soon as most people do, you know?
Yeah. Where, obviously you made this guy a decent amount of money for a few years.
I'm sure.
So what is the connection between making this asshole so much money and him literally abusing you, emotional abuse, verbal abuse? Like, where, like, I understand with the brainwashing, as if you're in a toxic, abusive relationship. I know several people have discussed this before, where you're getting crap, you're getting shit on, but you go back for more. You want more, essentially, is that you're willing to deal with anything in order for this person to like you and support you and whatever. But what's the connection there between making this, I can't even come up with a good term for this guy,
He's
so
a
much
master.
money.
He is a master. When I say a master at developing a relationship with you enough to find out all of your weaknesses, all of your points that will really hit very deep to your core. But under the guise that those conversations are coming from a very relative and friendly place, where he opens up about his family struggles. Mm-hmm. He opens up about his first jobs, about his lack of education. And then you then open up about yours too. And you think, wow, I know I can do this. And then you tell him all of these things about you and about your family and about your upbringing, your childhood, your lack of education, your insecurities. He opens up about his. And within a couple months, those are turned around against you, and not in, it's literally like a stab. It is like a dig and a stab and a just the lowest you can blow a person, all to tell them, this is good. Get excited. Hey, sacrifice today, tomorrow I got a Porsche. You know what I mean? I got a brand new Porsche. I'm about to put green stripes on it. We're the same, you and me. We're the same. So, it's very like that. And he uses the term, he said to me many times, like, I love you. I love you as a friend. I love you as a business partner, but I love you as a friend. And then would tell you that you're not worth anything and you'll never be anything, and your family and your parents are the reason that you're a failure, and you are causing other people to fail. And all of that can happen in one conversation.
Yeah, and it seems like the relationship between you two seemed to deteriorate quickly. You mentioned how it got to a point where every conversation you had with him was negative. You were the problem. I guess he actually tried to get you to quit. And I guess this is when the idea of being sent on a retrain was first brought up. And you said that just 8 months earlier, you were the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
So what happened there, and how did it feel? Like, you were, we just talked about this a while ago, how you were proud, everything was working, you were killing it, your crew was awesome, and now 8 months later, you're being degraded by this guy.
It was hurtful, point that I can't even describe. Because in your mind, you think that if you do work hard enough and you do what you're asked, you'll find that person again. The one who believed in you, the one who handed you multiple awards, the one who volunteered you to speak on a Mike T call, the one who volunteered you to speak on a Bill Bishop call to represent your entire organization. That person who did those things for you would come back and do the same things for you again one day if you just kind of get through this tough time. His motto, and the entire organization that I came from's motto, is tough times don't last, tough people do.
Yeah, it's sad to hear something like that perverted for what it truly is supposed to mean. But Smart Circle perverts any of that stuff.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't mean to be insulting or anything, but this is a common critique. Are you just bitter? Are you just bitter that you failed?
Absolutely. No. No, I'm not. I'm proud of myself for failing. In a way, but I don't think that I failed. I don't think that I failed, because my guys are still there and they're still doing great. My first outside deal is #1 in the organization now. I keep tabs on them. I will always care about them. But he's #1 in the organization right now, and he can't currently help his wife, who is 3 states over from him, pay for daycare regularly, because she's obviously single 3 states away, while he's another state doing this, being #1 in the organization, and is having a hard time. He doesn't have a car right now. He Ubers to and from places.
So he's an owner. He's #1 in the organization.
Yeah.
So you'd think he'd be making bank, but he can't afford a car, and he can't afford to send any money back to his wife.
Correct. My other guy in Pensacola, he can't afford health insurance right now, and he needs medication. He's a type 1 diabetic and needs help to get insulin, and he cannot afford that and has not had it in 3 months. So
Smart Circle doesn't do jack for you as far as health insurance.
No, not at all. Under any circumstances, not even a sneeze. They might find someone who helps you get on the phone with Medicare. Wow. But I did that for my guys, actually, because I didn't, and then the one who's in Mobile, 2 of his owners, well, one for a fact, one we're working on. One left the business 2 days ago. He just called me.
Okay.
The other one is about to leave. So my guy's about to be left there, stranded. I'm treading lightly, but trying to get the message out to my guys that are left there. Like, hey, if I left and you trusted me so much as your leader and you loved me so much as your leader, like, you can trust me when I left, that it was out of good intention, that I did it for the right reasons. So I wouldn't say that I am I'm just a bitter owner. I want to speak out because I've got people left in that organization who are experiencing what I experienced, and I don't want them to anymore, because I do care about them a whole lot. They're great people. They're just, they don't have the support system that I did that pulled them out.
Right. Let's get back into your time as an owner. You got to a point where, because you had no money, And we've already talked about how ridiculous the idea was, having this joker's wife do your recruiting for you. You made the decision to you made the decision to change recruiters, and
Yes.
that brought the wrath of God down upon you, apparently.
Oh my God. That was I can laugh at it now. And so I wanted
Good.
to take a little bit of time before I did this, but that was the first time that he told me about myself. Listen, his wife wasn't getting my $75,000 a year anymore, and that was apparently an insult.
Mm-hmm.
No, there was a really nice young lady who she doesn't work for a big corporate recruiting company or anything. She was just a single young girl. She's younger than me, I think 21 when she started. And she doesn't just work with Smart Circle. She works with like real companies,
Real companies, yeah.
And she offered to do my recruiting for $380 a week. Consistently, regularly. It just so happened that that girl was also the mortal enemy of my promoting owner's wife.
Oh, I love that.
And on top of that, I was taking $75,000 away from my promoting owner and his wife. So, yeah, I got a lot of slack for that one. And the guy that I left in Pensacola, when I promoted him to ownership, I had him go to that young lady as well. When I left the business, he called me, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, and told me that my promoting owner forced him to go with his wife again.
Yeah.
He's back he's back recruiting with my promoting owner's wife, but
wow.
That.
Okay, so let me check. I notice you have a black cat. I got one hanging around over here too, knocking all my stuff down.
They're mischievous, but so sweet.
Yeah, more mischievous than sweet a lot of times, but they're okay. All right, so after you made that choice to rid yourself of that financial ridiculousness that was your owner's wife, you said that really drove a wedge between you two, and that's understandable. You cost him $75,000. How could you do that to him? Right. So what was this the beginning of the end then, or like how did you get to a point where you finally started to realize my future's not with Smart Circle?
I didn't. That just drove another wedge between me and him to incite more of that. I make mistakes. I'm not doing the right things for my business. I'm the reason my guys are going to fail. That just incited more of that. To be honest with you, Alex, I didn't know that Smart Circle wasn't for me until the night that I left. I didn't know until the night that I left. The only reason was my dad. He asked me this night. I was really upset. My guys, they were struggling. They didn't have any money. I personally didn't have any money. I'd found out that the person that I came up here to partner with in Huntsville, that I was not here to bring my spirit and my team leadership building. I wasn't here for that. My promoting owner had actually sent me here to go on a retrain with this person. And I found out from this new business partner that he was supposed to be retraining me. And I just left all of my boys behind. I'm in a city I don't know. And I'm learning that I'm getting a retrain from this person that I think I'm better than. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like
so your promoting owner sent you on a retrain and didn't even tell you about it.
Yeah. Not until after I already got up here, signed a lease on an apartment, and promoted all my boys to ownership so that they could be miserable. Yeah, I'd found out from them that was the case. I was absolutely heartbroken. I was very insulted, confused, and broke.
Yeah.
I called my parents because they are my support system, and told them what was going on, and I told them about the news I had just received. At this point, upon me finding out that I was now on a retrain, all of a sudden, my guys, that 50% that I had, it got 100% transferred to my promoting owner.
So you're
And
back. So, okay. So you're sent to Huntsville, Alabama. Let's just put this in context. You were sent from Pensacola to Huntsville at your promoting owner's request to refresh yourself because you've been struggling. You can go out to this Huntsville market, start
Huntsville
over.
wasn't building leaders, and I was known
Okay.
in our organization to obviously build very strong, amazing leaders.
Yeah. So it's framed as this opportunity. You get there figuring out that, okay, I'm running a new office now, but no, I'm actually now on a retrain. And
when
then
I tell you I was bamboozled
yeah,
and thrown off, and I didn't under any circumstances understand, because this person I was partnered with, great guy, right? Great guy, very professional, very stoic, very custom made suits.
Yeah.
I mean, great guy. The personality reminds you of watching paint dry on a wall. And no wonder he couldn't build a team and build leadership, because there was no excitement, there was no fun, and that's what I was known for.
Yeah.
And when I come in to say, oh my gosh, we could do this, we could play this game, this will teach him how to sell, you know what I mean? Like, this is we can do all these things. He used the exact words that my promoting owner did, which is how I knew. He said, you don't have two legs to stand on here.
Wow.
I called my boys immediately and told them what was happening. And I called my promoting owner, and he had said that I couldn't afford my guys anymore, that their overrides were getting transferred 100% to him, that I needed to focus on myself. I don't know how it went 180, Alex. I don't know how I went from what I was to what I became.
And I'm sure that was all framed as your fault.
Yeah. And I know I wasn't perfect. I know that I did not do a lot of smart circle things. I think I was very nice. I think I was very loving and caring and emotional towards my people.
Yeah.
I know I didn't do everything right, but I don't think that under any circumstances that I should have been on a retrain with that guy. And I can laugh at it now, but I was devastated. And I called my parents. I told them about the news and what was happening. And my dad asked me one thing. He said, you know, what would happen if you quit today and didn't go back tomorrow? What would you lose? And to be honest with you, Alex, at that point, I had lost everything. Mm-hmm. I lost my guys, I lost my market, I lost all respect from my promoting owner somehow, even though I constantly sought it. And I told my dad, I said I'd lose my guys. I wouldn't even be around them anymore, even through states or Zoom calls or networking. I wouldn't be there for them.
Because you're a rep now. You're just a rep.
I was less than a rep. I was an owner on a retrain. And my dad told me, he said, you know, if you spend the next 4 weeks building a resume, going to every interview possible that you possibly could, and searching for a new job that paid 40, 45, 35, $50,000 a year. How much time to work at that job that you could put into doing that? Is it 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week? He said, we'll support you for the next month if you start job hunting and go find a $40,000 a year job. And that was quadruple what I was making. So I did. I left all the group meets that night after he had said that. And I never looked back. The next 3 days was me applying to jobs and watching your video. It was that quick.
Well, thank you, first of all, for sharing so much of your story. I know that it's always, being vulnerable is always difficult, and especially when we talk about something this powerful, and that a lot of people, unless people that have never been in it, and a lot of people that are still in it, just don't understand. They won't understand it.
That's hard.
Yeah. You've had to recover from significant trauma here. And there's no doubt about that. I know a lot of people define trauma in many different ways, and we all go through different types of trauma. This is a traumatic experience because, like I said before, and like you just said, you left and never looked back. It's akin to leaving a cult and leaving family members back there, knowing that you're never going to be able to talk to them again. And it's not that extreme, but because you do to keep in touch with people, which we'll talk about.
I'm forcing myself upon their lives.
Okay.
Try and tell them every chance I get that I'm off at 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to the gym. I'm grocery shopping. I paid my rent all by myself with the green card, not the silver business one.
You've obviously had to go through a process of detoxification of all the garbage you've been through the past few years. How is that going? What are you doing? How are you channeling the baggage that you now have?
I'm not fully healed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I will be until I know that each one of my guys, at the very least, just my guys that I put in that situation that they're in today, and will be tomorrow, will be the next day until they leave, I won't be over it. That's why I wanted to do this anonymously, is because I want what's best for them, but I want them to leave, not because of any negative reason besides they finally had enough and followed me out. But as far as what I'm doing to keep my mind off of those thoughts that I have almost all day, I started going to the gym. That really helps me fight my depression. I try to go to the gym every single day. I'm going to go once we get off here. That has helped me a lot. I found a new work family. As weird as that sounds, I should probably stray away from saying that, but I told them all about what I went through, and they think it's fascinating. They think it's crazy cool that the new girl at work just left a cult. They think it's cool. And I continue to talk to my parents when I'm still having a tough time. My dad still tells me, you're in a better place right now than you ever were for 3 years in that place. Mm-hmm. And, he helps me, and he can recognize when I'm having those lapses of, did I make the right decision? Mm-hmm. Like I said, they're in Punta Cana right now as we're speaking. Yeah. My promoting owner is getting a regional award. And I'm doing laundry. So it's times like that when I think, did I make a mistake by, so, watching your videos, talking to my family, going to the gym, I'll get on Juicy Rhino and just laugh at the memes and just actually have a little, sadistic humor.
Yeah.
That's what helps me. And hopefully one day I don't have to go through all of those coping mechanisms to get over this, because that is kind of what my life is now, even 3 months later. I'm hoping that it gets to a point where I just live a normal life and don't think about it anymore, except for every once in a while.
Yeah.
It'll be a far off thought about something that I used to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is definitely a mental healing process that takes place. And I'm glad that you have your outlets and that you've been able to at least move on, because we all suffer from trauma, and sometimes, depending on what that trauma is, you never fully heal. I'm fully healed from Smart Circle. It didn't take me that long. The money I get from these videos helps an awful lot. But anyway,
Wait, you get overrides on me too? No,
I'm getting an override on you too.
I
love that.
The first time that I left, though, I remember the first day that it was 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
and I saw the trees over the hill and sunlight was coming through them. I know this makes me sound insane, but you work at the store until 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So when you're getting off of work from 7 in the morning that you're running office to 8 p.m. at night, you don't see sunlight. You're inside of a retailer that's very like gray.
Yeah.
And I remember it was 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and I saw the sunlight coming through this hill of trees, and it was so beautiful. And I thought to myself, it's been a long time since I saw like the sunset, unless I was at a store seeing it. Like that was weird. That was crazy. That's when I realized I had been in very deep for a very long time.
Yeah. And you're promoting owner. He can be in Punta Cana. He can get his fake award. He can be rich. But the quality of life. I mean, I'm happy sitting at home. I'm sure you're fine doing laundry compared to the alternative.
Oh, 100%. I'm so excited. I get to try different detergents. I can afford laundry detergent.
I know. But it's great that being in that, like, I find myself able to be appreciative of tiny things like that, of knowing, like, I can work from home 3 days a week. That's like the best thing I've ever had in my life, because of my time in Smart Circle, when I would only be home for sleeping. Would I like to go to Punta Cana? Sure, but I wouldn't mind paying my own way. And thankfully, being out of Smart Circle as long as I have, I could pay my own way. I could pay my wife's own way, and I wouldn't have to go to any stupid, meaningless, fake award ceremony, listen to these fake people talk about things that are not real. They've created this success for themselves that is not real. And I don't know, I'm sure your promoting owner is a very wealthy guy, but the amount of manipulation, the amount of lives he's destroyed to get to that point, it's not worth it. Yeah. No. I mean, well, you said it yourself. I mean, I made sure I wrote this down when he was talking about one of your guys. He said he's doing whatever he wants. He's got to go, which as a business owner, I can, as a business owner myself of a real business, I can do whatever I want. You should be able to do whatever you want if you're a business owner. But in Smart Circle, you can't do that. And you said yourself, you got involved in these guys' lives. You were emotionally attached to them. You were human with them. And that was your mistake. Your promoting owner, he's not human with these guys. He has no feelings. He has no ethics. He has made it his life's goal to get as wealthy as possible. And it doesn't matter who he screws over. It doesn't matter what he does. It doesn't matter how many lives he affects or how many lives he ruins. And that's why he is successful in Smart Circle, because that's the kind of person that has to be there. Someone like you who is actually a person and has thoughts and has emotions and isn't cut off from things like that and is able to appreciate a sunset, you're not going to go far in Smart Circle, even though you did. You lasted a lot longer than you probably should have.
Yeah, I did. $50,000 later. But
oh, that makes me so sad to hear that.
well, here's the good news. So I'm gonna work on building my college fund that I lost trying to support my business.
Yeah.
But also, speaking of Punta Cana, me and what we have entitled ourselves the org delinquents. I have been in contact with a few people who I'm helping get out and have left before me. We may or may not be saving $24 for the next 52 weeks a piece to go to Punta Cana and take a picture as org delinquents to almost meme the situation, so that we can do great things on our own.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. And definitely shoot that picture over to Juicy Rhino, because he'll be able to get it up there. So I mean, thank you again for sharing your story. I just have a couple general questions, because it's rare that we get to talk to somebody who's had as much experience and as much getting your hands dirty into this as you have.
I don't even think you and I have covered about a quarter of it.
A few years ago, and I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it was a direct response to the Slave Circle and the follow-up videos. Smart Circle released this grandiose propaganda video. It's still on YouTube now. It's called
there's a couple of them, right?
Yeah. It's called Smart Circle International. What is Smart Circle? It's about 13 minutes long, and Larissa Hawley's in there, Jessica Irish is in there, all these scam artists are in there.
One of the Hidalgos is in there.
Yeah. So it's their propaganda. It's their message, their narrative about what they say Smart Circle is, even though if you watch these videos, if you look at Juicy Rhino, you look at Devilcorp, you get an accurate depiction of what Smart Circle is. If I were to ask you the question, what is Smart Circle? What would you say?
Wow, this is gonna make me sound like a bitter failed owner. It is a leeching corporation. If you think of any corporation that you don't like, some people don't like Walmart, for example. It's just like that. Some people don't like big corporations because they accuse them of slave labor. It's just like that. It's a gigantic national corporation that abuses their power. That's what they are. Compare them to any corporation that does things the worst way possible, but constantly gets away with it with whatever advertisement. Look at this baby. Like, that's what they do. It's the same exact concept as it's the same exact concept as just a corrupt corporation. It's just a corrupt corporation with thick legal documentation and a system that's been around forever. And, part of me wishes that it would fail so that people don't have to suffer anymore, but it won't. Just like Walmart won't fail, it's not gonna go away. Maybe we can educate people and hopefully they hear about it. They can see the signs of these independent marketing companies with a 19-year-old to 51-year-old business owner who, after a couple of weeks, you'll realize doesn't have their shit together. And you're getting paid minimum wage plus commission. And if it has anything to do with Sam's Club, Costco, Fred Meyer's, Target, Menards, shoot, that's them. And run. And if it has AT&T on it, run further. It's going to be horrible. Energy programs, bro, just don't even. No. You get paid more at Aldi's.
You were there for a long time and you got to know a lot of promoting owners and regional consultants. I find it interesting that you don't know who Kim York is, though. Kim Paul. It shows me that the celebrity status that these people create is just so fake. No one knows who they are. They're not. They even within their own organization, because
I thought Alex Guzman was in Chicago.
Oh, there's multiple people in Chicago. I don't know, but I was under the impression that everybody knows who Kim is, and just knowing that you were there for so long and you have no idea who she is, that makes me smile a little bit, because it just proves to me how full of shit she is. But you were there for so long, you hobnobbed with all these people.
Yes.
What is the culture of Smart Circle like? What? I've heard through so many videos, there's drug addicts, there's the most horrible people you could imagine, all kind of slithering around the same business operations. Is that somewhat true? Is there more to it than that? Are the consultants even victims, or are they at the point where we can't call these people victims?
Yeah. That's what I mean by we've only kind of covered a quarter of this, but at least, okay, yes. Yes, the answer is yes. What I experienced the most of, not necessarily was the drug portion. I saw a lot of sexual abuse.
Really?
Oh yeah. Come on, are you kidding me? Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt. That was one of the reasons that the guy who got kicked out of my office, besides the fact that he was completely broke, the owner previous to me, he was sexually harassing female reps. That's why I, as a female owner, ended up there to save the day. In an entire segment of my organization, it is known for, it's not incestuous, but that's how they did. That's how the higher ups describe it, is don't commit incest, which means with your peers, but it's rampant.
Yeah.
It's literally rampant. I know a girl poor girl, I feel so bad for her. She got overly intoxicated at an organizational event and lost her virginity in this organization. Got gangbanged by multiple owners, a girl who was a virgin 4 months prior. I saw a lot, at least for me, that was a lot of what and there's even more. I would say abuse of power in a sexual manner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would yeah. And that's just what I personally know of more. I know about that more than drugs, because they don't drug test, so most people smoke weed. It's not as professional as everyone makes it out to be. But I kept to myself a lot, even though I knew most of that stuff was going on. I just figured that's not what my team is going to be. My little island in Pensacola that I'm running to shelter them from that. They found out when they became owners.
Yeah. And the weed, everybody smokes weed, but I've talked to multiple people who said they know their boss is doing coke, or they're doing some other kind of uppers or something like that, just to get through the day. And I'm sure you were around owners where you put them in a zero context situation and just watch how they act. You almost have to be they're on something.
It would actually probably be the Dallas office. I hate to say that, but Dallas office gives me coke vibes. Nashville office, coke vibes. Okay. Isn't that kind of weird that you think of them as the cities? You're that city, coke. That city, sexual harassment. That city. They're just a bunch of potheads, kind of harmless, but they're all very poor.
So ultimately, I don't know, maybe Juicy Rhino can do this. I don't know, but we need to make a map of Smart Circle in the US and say, well, that's the coke region. Stay out of there. That's the rapist region.
Manic depressive region, suicidal region.
Got it. Okay. So maybe that's something we can figure out. Okay.
Yeah,
and everybody
part out,
and everybody's
get demonetized. You will not get your overrides on me for this if we don't cut that part out.
I don't know. I think if I just silence a couple words, I'll be okay. I'll figure it out.
Sure. Yes.
So, I thought it was interesting when you first reached out to me, and you were fresh out of Smart Circle. You had obviously been watching the videos for a little while, but you said your first thing was, well, I think I probably, or you have more questions than anything to offer me at that time. Have your questions kind of been answered? I know there've been a couple times in this interview where you've admitted that you still don't know. It's interesting. You were a Smart Circle owner for 3 years. You would think, oh, well, you're an expert in this. You must know, like what I tell my students, if you've done anything for 3 years, you should have a good amount of knowledge about the inner workings and backwards, forwards, sideways, diagonally about how this works.
Yeah.
I feel like even though you were there for 3+ years, you still didn't find out a lot about how Smart Circle actually works, right?
I know how it started.
Okay.
I know why it's unstoppable. So I do think I understand all of it. When I first kind of wanted answers from you or wanted answers from Juicy Rhino, after a little bit of time and I processed it, I have those answers, but they don't give you the closure that you want.
Sure.
And that closure being that, how could they do this? Or how do we get those people out? How do we help my guys? How do we help the people who are there who are suffering? And I mean, they're suffering and they don't even know they're suffering. They're in so much pain that they stay. How do we help them? But there aren't really answers to those questions. I guess that's why you do this. That's why I wanted to do this. I mean, outside of that, I know how Smart Circle started. I know why Smart Circle can't be stopped. I know who is in charge of it, and I know who's making the money off of it. I know who's not making the money off of it, and I know why they're not making the money off of it. So outside of that, there's not a lot of other questions besides, and we just have to speak out and just hope that someone who's not already in Smart Circle sees this and avoids it, and the people who are in it see this and take it seriously and don't think that we're just these failed, vicious, bitter owners who didn't succeed. No, we're the people who understand what's going on in there. We feel bad for you. If someone is in Smart Circle right now, I hope that they know that they can be loved and they can be appreciated and they can find real rewards and happiness and excitement and community, and be healthy and have money, real money. It is okay to be an employee. It is okay to be a business owner and do something different and start from the ground up all over again. With something, that's really your own. It's okay to be an employee too. They bash that so often.
Yeah, they do.
To be an employee, that salary is slavery. I have a salary now and I'm making more than I ever did for 3 years. I'm going to be making more this year than I made in 3 years. In 1 year. By working for a company, I have a boss in charge of me and they pay me to show up. It's okay to not be a CEO. It's okay to not go to Punta Cana every 3 months and be miserable all the rest of the time. It's okay to live a normal
That's a really
life.
good way to look at it too, is you can get these vacations or these trips. I mean, you have to pay for a certain amount of that anyway, if not for everything going down there anyway.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, balancing that. So, you get to go to a tropical paradise for 2 days, three or four times a year, but then you go back to your miserable life of screwing people over and thinking that that everything's great, even
Never
though
seeing
deep
your wife,
down.
never
Yeah.
seeing your girlfriend, never seeing your husband, splitting up your marriage to be with someone that you work with,
Mhm.
not being able to afford food, applying for food stamps as a CEO, applying for the lowest possible health insurance that you might be able to get, if you can. Obamacare as a CEO, if you qualify for it.
Is that what you had to do?
Yep. It's what I did for my boys too. And to be honest with you, I helped them get on it because I didn't want them to not have anything. A couple of them they still don't have anything because that was too much. Like, that was too expensive.
And you had to apply did you apply for food stamps too?
I did not.
Okay.
I know owners that are on food stamps. They're on their girlfriend's food stamps. Their girlfriends don't live in the same state as them, but they're on their food stamps. Yeah, my parents, they got me out with the kindness of their heart, and they talked reason into me, basically saying, had I stayed any longer, I would be on food stamps and I would live, in an Airbnb.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good illustration of how BS Smart Circle and all these other Devilcorp companies are, because when you talk about reason and rationality, those things don't mix with Smart Circle culture.
They don't.
Because like you said, you were essentially, technically, according to them, a business owner. You were successful. You made it to the top. Yeah. And you made $13,000 a year. And then now, as an employee at a regular job, at a lazy, unsuccessful 9-to-5 job, right?
So boring.
40 hours a week. You're making
less, maybe.
You're working less now, and you're making 4 times more money, almost 3 to 4 times more money.
4, yeah, 3, 4, 5 times more money. And they ask me to take breaks.
Yeah,
they had to force me my first week to not stay late and be great. They actually told me they were going to lock the doors of the office. They think it's fun. But I was serious. I wanted to stay there later and continue working and dive into this new job. And they said, no, go home and watch Netflix, maybe? I don't know. This girl's weird. Get a life.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a culture that celebrates it celebrates entrepreneurship, but it celebrates it in an unhealthy way. It celebrates 80-90 hours a week. It celebrates nonstop hustling at the expense of, like you said, at the expense of your mental health, at the expense of your relationships and your family, at the expense of rational thought and reasoning. I'm working 80-90 hours a week so I can be a success. I'm on my girlfriend's food stamps, though. Those things don't make sense. There's no rational thought behind them. But in the Smart Circle, Credico, Sidcore universe, that's the universe. That's what makes sense in that false reality.
And they eat it up, and they reference people like Elon Musk who say they only sleep 4 hours a week, or whatever. They reference that culture of hustle culture. They reference that to validate the fact that you will be working endless. You will isolate yourself from your family. You will negate all reason, and you will sacrifice yourself for a better tomorrow with Smart Circle.
Yeah. Any company, any business that idolizes people like Elon Musk, and I'm sure they're saying now, Elon Musk doesn't have that many friends, not many people like him, because but look at how successful he is. No one likes him because he's a fucking idiot,
Right.
turning out to be, at least. But Yeah, any business that idolizes Elon Musk, and when I was in there, it was fucking Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
Ours was Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, what's his name from the Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh yeah, you
God.
get if you walk into an office and they show a Wolf of Wall Street clip, run.
Oh God. Were you still shouting juice, or did they change that?
No, they got rid of juice because of you guys.
Yes.
Their new thing is get excited.
I remember get excited. Yes.
This is good. I actually pulled up a text message before I got on here with you. A text message of me messaging my promoting owner and his wife about how I didn't have money, and his exact response was, "You're doing great. This is good." So this is good is a big one. Yeah.
So that it kind of reminds me of that meme of the dog with the fire all around him saying, "This is fine." Yeah. That's essentially what Smart Circle is. You're sitting in that room. You're like, "This is good. My life is crashing around me. This is good."
No, it is. That's what, and the thing is with a lot of those isms that other offices took very seriously. Of course, me being the owner, me and my boys, like one of my boys would tell me he full out has a flat tire, and we would both look at each other with crazy eyes and be like, "This is good."
This is good. Yeah.
we mocked it, but we knew that's what we were supposed to say.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I mean that's a cult.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
If you have a pre-programmed response to something, hey guys, hey what? Juice. I've had some people comment and say rich is a new word. Like that's a big response now is, yeah, I want to be rich and all this nonsense. Yeah, you're in a cult. You're in a cult.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry that you were in the cult or aren't anymore. Sucks for us, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for me, I think, because I don't have an in. So I can't stay up on all the ridiculousness that is going on and all the different changes that they have to make supposedly because of a little independent film from 5 years ago.
Yeah, if you change the name of it to Get Excited, they would have to really rethink their entire existence. So Get Excited is the new juice.
So that might have to be the name of my next film then. Get excited.
This is good. Shoot.
Okay.
Shake it off. Take a step up.
See, I'm learning all this new lingo. Like I got out in 2014. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've been around.
Oh yeah. So there's a donkey and he fell into a well.
I remember that one. I remember that one.
He gives up on him and just starts throwing dirt on him with all the other farmers.
What was the point of that one?
So they start burying the donkey alive in dirt as he fell down as well. And so the donkey has this self-realization that he's not being buried alive. All he has to do as a donkey is shake that load of dirt off and step on top of it. And the more dirt they pile up on him, he can climb himself out of the well because of how much dirt's being poured in. Because he just shakes it off and he just takes a step onto that layer of dirt. You know what? Burying animals alive isn't cool, Smart Circle.
Hey, if they could make some money off of it, they would do it.
That's so sadistic. Mm-hmm. Guess that's why they call it Devilcorp. That's so sad. Yeah. Ugh, gross.